Hello there, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stories. Soldiers, tanks move into Rivers government house as opposition condemns emergency rule. Reps review President Tinubu consulted National Assembly before Rivers State emergency declaration. PDP summons emergency meeting over weekend, and Russia and Ukraine carry out attacks after Putin-Trump call. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The world news at 12 begins on the foreign scene, where Russia and Ukraine have launched air attacks that damaged each other's infrastructure, hours after Vladimir Putin said Russia would stop targeting Ukrainian energy sites. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia's targets included hospitals. He said the Russian leader had in effect rejected a comprehensive ceasefire in his call on Tuesday with US President Donald Trump. Putin said Trump told Trump that a full ceasefire would only work if Ukraine's allies stopped giving military assistance, a condition Ukraine's European allies have previously rejected. Zelensky said Russia launched more than 40 drones against Ukraine in the hours following the call between Trump and Putin. Meanwhile, the Russian Defense Ministry said of the 57 Ukrainian drones it intercepted and destroyed overnight, 35 were over the Kursk border region. In a recent development, President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday evening declared a state of emergency in Rivers State in a nationwide broadcast, citing the need to restore law and order. President Tinubu announced the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, Mrs. Ngozi Odu, and all elected members of the Rivers State House of Assembly for an initial period of 6 months. President Tinubu announced the nomination of retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas as the Rivers State Administrator to steer the affairs of the state. A few hours after the declaration, soldiers took over the Rivers State Government House in Port Harcourt. An insider said the governor was still in his official residence in the government house when the troops swarmed over the premises at about 9 p.m. The 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has criticized President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, describing it as unconstitutional and reckless. Obi accused President Tinubu of disregarding the rule of law and showing a dangerous willingness to trample on democracy. He noted that the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State is not just reckless, but a clear attempt to return the country to a state of nature and tighten its grip on power at all costs. Obi asserted that the political situation in Rivers State does not justify the emergency rule and the suspension of Governor Sim Fubara, his deputy, and state lawmakers, adding that the action is also a biased interpretation of Section 305, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution. In the same vein, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has rejected the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu. Weighing in, Atiku, in a statement personally signed by him, said the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers reeks of political manipulation and outright bad faith. He explained that President Tinubu cannot evade responsibility for the chaos his administration has either enabled or failed to prevent. The Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) has also declared the suspension of Rivers State Governor Sim Fubara, his deputy, and members of the State House of Assembly by President Bola Tinubu as unconstitutional and an alarming breach of Nigeria's federal structure. This reaction follows President Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. In a statement posted on his X page, Afam Osigwe, a senior advocate of Nigeria and president of the NBA, argued that while Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution grants the president authority to declare a state of emergency, it establishes strict conditions and procedural safeguards to protect democratic governance and fundamental rights. The NBA emphasized that the Constitution does not guarantee the president power to unilaterally remove elected officials under the guise of a state of emergency. Spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Akin Rotimi, says President Bola Tinubu consulted the National Assembly before announcing a state of emergency in Rivers State. You will recall that the president had on Tuesday declared a state of emergency in the state following the prolonged political crisis. In a statement, Rotimi said the National Assembly was duly consulted by the president before reaching the decision. According to him, President Tinubu met with the leadership of the National Assembly, including Senate President Godswill Akpabio, Speaker of the House Tajuddin Abbas, Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, Senate Leader Michael Bamidele, Leader of the House Julius Ihavbere, National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu before the broadcast. He also said the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kade Egbetokun, the Director General of the State Security Service, Adiola Ajayi, and the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, Mohammed also attended the meeting. The statement noted that during this meeting, they were fully briefed on the president's intentions and all present unanimously expressed their support. He also said the president's letter informing the House of Reps of his decision and seeking approval on the state of emergency in Rivers, in line with Section 305 of the Constitution, has been transmitted to the Green Chamber and would be read during plenary today for further legislative action. The National Working Committee of the main opposition People's Democratic Party (PDP) yesterday summoned an emergency meeting at its permanent headquarters in Abuja after Minister of the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) Nyesom Wike revoked land right of the party's national secretariat over non-payment of dues. Wike's decision to revoke the right of occupancy granted to the PDP for its national secretariat was conveyed in a statement addressed to the party's chairman on Tuesday amid the unending Cold War between the minister and the leadership of the party. Noting that the FCT administration had taken possession of the property, the statement added that the party's breaches were at variance with the provisions of Section 28, subsection 5A and B of the Land Use Act. The Senate yesterday set up an ad hoc committee to investigate alleged annexation of Nigerian territories in some local government in Rivers and Akwa Ibom State by the Republic of Cameroon. The Red Chamber urged President Bola Tinubu to take immediate steps to protect Nigeria's territorial waters and secure over 2,560 oil wells located within the disputed mangrove islands in Akwa Ibom State. The Senate's resolutions followed its consideration and adoption of a motion sponsored by Senator Anyeka Bassi of PDP Akwa Ibom Northwest during plenary. The ad hoc committee was given 4 weeks to report back to the Senate. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break and be back with more news stories and the news analysis segment. To stay tuned. Welcome back. You're listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Still on the Rivers State declaration of a state of emergency by President Tinubu, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) Governors Forum has strongly condemned President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, describing the move as unstatesmanlike, biased and divisive. The declaration made during a nationwide broadcast saw the suspension of Governor Sim Fubara, his deputy and all elected members of the Rivers State House of Assembly for 6 months. As part of the emergency measures, President Tinubu nominated retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas as the administrator to take charge of the state affairs. In a statement released today, the forum, led by Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, expressed grave concern over the political situation in Rivers State, which it believes has been exacerbated by President Tinubu's actions. The forum particularly criticized President Tinubu's silence regarding the involvement of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, in the crisis. The governors argued that Wike's role in the situation had become a law unto itself due to the president's passivity and enabling behavior. Meanwhile, other opposition figures and the legal luminaries have been wading into the issue in Rivers State and the president's declaration of a state of emergency. In 2013, senior advocate of Nigeria Femi Falana waded into the declaration of a state of emergency by former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Let's take a listen to what he said as at that time.
Are used to abnormality in our country, particularly when you have the culture of executive immunity or presidential impunity. We are then tempted to feel that such anomalies are the proper thing. There's no provision of the Nigerian Constitution that allows the president or anybody for that matter to remove an elected official. Between 1979 and now, we have close to 20 cases of our courts which have upheld the right of Nigerian people to be governed properly in accordance with the law. In other words, the law is saying that it is illegal on the part of state governors to remove elected chairmen and councillors and replace them with caretaker committees. Under the Constitution, you can only remove a governor by impeachment, by resignation, or on account of ill health. In the case of a legislator, you can only remove him or her by the process of recall. So there's no provision for, or no law has empowered the president to remove a governor. In other words, I mean, you might also say that if the country is fighting a war, say with another country, do you ask the president to be removed by the National Assembly so that a sole administrator is appointed for the prosecution of the war? So it is totally what President Obasanjo did in removing governors cannot be justified under the law. But you know, his regime was characterized by executive lawlessness. And
that was Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, speaking in 2013. Let's now take a listen to Barrister Libros Oshoma speaking earlier today on the state of emergency declaration in Rivers State and the suspension of Governor Fubara, his deputy, and the Rivers State House of Assembly members.
For any state. But when the president was in opposition, when the state of emergency was declared, and you talked about was declared, let us cast our mind back to the position of the APC there, the ACN. Their position was that when a state of emergency is declared, that the president has no power to remove a sitting governor from office, that there is nothing in the constitution that requires the sitting governor to vacate his office. Yes, a state of emergency can be declared for the federal government to take charge of security situations, and then movement in certain cases are restricted. But there is nothing in the Constitution that says that a sitting governor or the sitting House of Assembly can be sacked. If you look at Section 11, let's start from Section 11. It says the National Assembly may make law for the Federation or any part thereof with respect to the maintenance and securing of public safety. But specifically, subsection 4 of Section 11 says anytime when the it says anytime when any House of Assembly of a state is unable to perform its function by reason of the situation prevailing in that state, the National Assembly may make such law for the peace, order, and good governance of the state with respect to matters in which a state House of Assembly may make law as may appear to the National Assembly to be necessary or expedient within such time as the House of Assembly is able to resume its function. That's where I want to start us from. If you look at that section, can we say after the Supreme Court judgment that the State House of Assembly has not been able to make law for the state? The answer is no. The House of Assembly had issued directive, had for certain persons to appear before them, had even requested the governor to present budget before him, and the governor also had applied to present budget before the State House of Assembly.
All right, that was Barrister Libros Oshoma speaking on the suspension of Governor Sim Fubara and his deputy by President Bola Tinubu yesterday. Now joining me to discuss issues on the world news at 12, I have political, social and national affairs analyst, Ambassador Victor Atewe. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining me and good afternoon.
Thank you so very much for having me. Good afternoon.
Always a pleasure, Ambassador. A lot has happened between 7 p.m. yesterday and as we speak right now, a lot of Nigerians are not exactly happy about what has been going on. Now, the House of Reps has come out to inform Nigerians that President Tinubu told the National Assembly, informed them of the decision he would like to make yesterday before he actually made the decision. And he also communicated it in a letter which is to be read on the floor of plenary today for them to now deliberate upon and say, okay, we're actually also giving our assent. But where exactly did he communicate this? Because If the rep said they were consulted, was it a secret plenary session? Because we did not see such a session holding yesterday. What we saw rather was a meeting between the president and the security chiefs, which had the Senate president and others in attendance. Is that the right order of things, Ambassador Atewe?
To be honest with you, it's a sad day for the Rivers people and, of course, Nigeria as a whole. Well, this goes to show that we live in a country where our political space, our political actors or gladiators, like you want to call them, right now are taking Nigerian people for a fool. Permit me to use that word, for a fool, because we now live in a system where it's being programmed. Whatever the presidency, automatically the legislative arm of government just of course support it, even though it's for the good, even if it's for the even if it's for either for the good of the people or not. So that's where we find ourselves. Like you rightly said, where was it even stated? Because it ought to be an open thing that the president, of course, had already informed the national, I mean the rep or National Assembly of his decision. Of course, we ought to have anticipated that everybody in Nigeria as a whole was put in a shock as at 7 p.m. yesterday. That's why the hasty decision just to suspend. I mean, it just shows that we from the broadcast yesterday. Forgive me, I'll say that I was seeing like our former head of state Abacha, giving a decree, just passing, giving a nation address, and that was the address I felt like yesterday, and I was like, wow, why the hasty decision? And from the address, if you have to go back and read from the start to the end, you will see that it's a biased conclusion, a biased address that the president is just one-sided. And if you're one-sided, and if you're meant to be a judge and you already have a biased opinion about or biased decision about an issue, of course, you won't put you won't put out your fair judgment, and the other party will will feel not well treated. So that question you ask, your guess is as good as mine, because the Nigerian people are here. Can't say or where the president really communicated to them. So this goes to show that we don't have an independent National Assembly. We have a National Assembly that is fully controlled by the presidency, and it's a sad one at that. It's a sad one.
Mr. Tawe, you talk about the National Assembly being fully controlled by the presidency. A lot of political analysts are saying the same thing, right? But then let's look at it. Has the president exceeded the limits of his constitutional powers since his inauguration? From the Lagos Assembly to what's happening in Rivers State at the moment, a lot of Nigerians see this as an interference and not as an intervention.
Yes, of course, it's a fair. It's, of course, the Constitution under Section 305, of course, gave the president the power to, give a state of emergency where, of course, it affects the overall national interest, or if there is a threat to war. But in the River State's case, you see that it wasn't like that. It's a political battle, so to say, and of course largely influenced by the Minister of FCT, who is an appointee of the president. And but from the supposed interference of the presidency, you see that it has always been one-sided. They are giving an order to the governor. You have to carry out this, even from the eighth decision, or will I say the decision that was given to Fubara to carry out the 8 points. Yes, that's the word. The 8 point given to him to carry out. You see that it's just about what the FCT minister wants, what he to do, what the governor is to do. But the governor is not being considered here, or not being given a fair hearing to even to weigh in his own opinion as to what he feels that he can do, of course, to foster peace. So I don't think the president really acted right, and I think that all this you see playing out have been scripted. So they're just been acting according to script, and Nigerians are not. For me, I'm not surprised, because of course you see that the current minister of FCT really played a major role to the emergence of our president, and of course I think it's a payback. But one can only imagine the kind of power that the FCT minister has been saddled with, that in this whole cause, not to one finger has been pointed at him, and not a caution has been meted on him to say, oh, okay, I think at this point now you just need to give this man a break, let him do what he's been elected to do. Either you see that from the body language, and of course the declaration being made yesterday by the president, you see that the president is fully in support of what the minister is doing. That's why he's going all out, and of course venting, and of course breaking and bragging and say what them be, where them day. they can't do him anything. And of course, he's above the power, and the power that be is right behind him, and that's what's playing out. So for what happened yesterday, I would say I'm disappointed, even though I'm not surprised. But I just it just goes to show that a man who was once who fought against dictatorship, who fought against oppression, and now be given the power to govern the country, and you see him going in that direction. I mean, this is totalitarian style of government. This is not democracy at all. I mean, why the hasty decision? We've had worse cases. We've had up north. We have the insecurity that's threatened the sovereignty of our country, and here we are. That just a political crisis, and of course, two leaders, and you can't. I mean, one would have expected that all options should be seen to have been seems to have been applied or exhausted, as it were, before even thinking of a state of emergency. And even if you must declare a state of emergency, why suspend the president? Why suspend the governor? And I mean, abrogate the whole power to yourself. Because of course you now state that even the administrator cannot carry out some certain decisions, and if you're told you must have some regulation, he has to get approval from the FEC. I mean, you and I know that the FEC, of course, the FCT minister is an active member of the FEC, and of course he automatically will be governing the state from the FCT, and which is really sad. It goes to show that it's just the president is one-sided.
Ambassador Tewe,
when
when you look at the president's speech from yesterday, you talk about it being one-sided. One cannot help but notice that he actually started by blaming Governor Fubara for demolishing the River State House of Assembly and not rebuilding it up until now. He also talked about how some militants had threatened fire and brimstone, in his own words, against their perceived enemy of the governor, who has up till now not disowned them. That is blaming Governor Fubara for not disowning the threat made by the militants, right? And then two pipelines were bombed. Yes, they exploded. While the president was giving his speech, another pipeline in Bayelsa also went up in flames. Some people have suggested that the pipeline vandalization could have been carried out by, people who are not even pro-Fubara, in order to give the militants a bad name and be able to declare this state of emergency and suspend Governor Fubara to capture River State ahead of 2027. Is this something you would agree with? I mean, was spending billions.
In totality, I agree with that.
Ambassador Tewe.
It's a quick conclusion. Like I said, everybody is just like, why did he take the decision? Why, okay, yeah, it's safe to say that the president is the chief security officer of the state. Of course, he gets the first-hand security details as to what to happen or not. Okay, fine. It's just a concluding a decision to say that the governor does not condemn. It just happened yesterday.
But aren't there security on this pipelines? Aren't there people who have security contracts to actually protect this pipeline? A pipeline blew up, and the president did not talk to or investigate or fire the security consultant who manned all the length of the pipeline. Why should the governor take the blame for not calling the militants to order when the militants haven't even come out to say, oh, we are responsible for the explosion of these pipelines?
This question you just asked is what Nigerians are asking. The president, why the hasty decision to declare a state of emergency without proper consultation? Yes, one would say he consulted with the army chiefs. That's why I had a meeting with them, and from security details, they gathered that this was perpetrated by some aggrieved people. Supposedly, these are allegations. These are supposed allegations that you can either go further to see if indeed these people are in support of the governor or not. And if this had happened, one would have expected that if some of the governor to see what is happening in your state. This thing is a threat to national development, of course, to the economy of this country. We're struggling. We're trying to meet up to the OPEC quota. This is not what we need at the time. What exactly should be done? But like I said, and I'll continue to say without fear or favor, this is a scripted act. This is what they've planned to happen, and this is what they expected, or they want. They're playing according to. This is just a role play. This is just a scripted act that, yes, they want it to happen as such. Put them into the state of emergency. The governor, of course, doesn't have a. It's been, of course, is a governor, but of course doesn't have some power allocated to him. He will be working from behind, and this we further foster a lot of. Will bring back a lot of bad blood, because you trying to bring in peace. It's not going to be peace, because there'll be a lot of war going on behind the scene and a lot of power grabbing. and trust me, it's not going to end anytime soon.
Let's actually look at the history of declaration of state of emergency in Nigeria in civilian administrations. I mean, from 1999. In 2004, after hundreds of people were killed in communal clashes in Plateau State, then President Olusegun Obasanjo suspended Governor Joshua Dariye and declared a state of emergency. 2 years later, he did the same thing in Ekiti State, where Governor Ayofaishe had to leave and a state of emergency was declared due to a political crisis. The incumbent president, who was then not, of course, President, Lagos State Governor, actually said that the state of emergency imposed on Plateau State, it's not the right thing to do at that moment. So this was a decision that he did not agree with when it was carried out several years ago. Why now doing the same thing? Also, when you go back to Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, from where the president derives his power to declare a state of emergency, what part of that Section 305 says you can then suspend the governor, who is an elected official just like the president and not an appointee of the president? Which is actually easier to say, Wike, stand down, let Fubara finish to 2027, because there are certain Nigerians who are saying they don't pity Wike, he was probably rigged into power, or they don't pity Fubara, rather, he was probably rigged into power. Wike foisted him on the people of Rivers State. So whatever he's seeing now, he should take it, and Nigerians will not fight for him. But we're looking at the dangerous precedent that is set for the democracy that we say we are practicing in Nigeria, whereby a sitting governor can be suspended along with his deputy and the State House of Assembly, who are even happy about the whole debacle. Today is March 19, where Governor Fubara was supposed to represent that budget to the River State House of Assembly before they adjourned indefinitely. Why didn't the president wait until, see, maybe this will happen? Maybe the militants will come out and say, yes, we're the one bombing the pipeline because of these impeachment proceedings. Why wasn't that due process followed to see what will even happen today before the state of emergency declaration?
You see, it's laughable when you see that someone who was at the other side of the field or other side of the divide, I mean, you can dig in, you can dig out hundreds of videos of press statements by then the governor of Lagos State, but now our president, where he condemned many acts that right now you find him doing. Maybe one would say maybe maybe he's lost in thought, or he would say that maybe until you get into the house, you see how it is, then you understand where the shoe hurts. To be honest with you, one can only but say that this is all orchestrated and of course being pushed just to push an agenda. You see that some sets are happy that this suspension came, but larger number of good and civilized Nigerians, even NBA, as gallantly, as completely discredited and condemned the suspension because it is undemocratical, it is unconstitutional. One would have thought that as a democratic president who once fought force into to fight against the military dictatorship and of course military reign at the time, one would have said that he would have, of course, applied it democratically. Yes, you recall that when we had a security challenge somewhere in Yobe, that the then President Jonathan declared state of emergency in some local government.
Yes, in about 3 states, Borno, Yobe, Adamawa, where the governors no longer had the power over internal security, but they were not suspended, they were not removed from seats, and the military administrator, would I say, imposed on the state.
Yeah, there was nothing like that. That is a civil thing to do. That is what one would have expected, that within that area you can declare a state of emergency within some certain state of local government and say, okay, you know what, you're taking over the security so as to protect the resources, of course the pipelines, which of course it's very vital to our economic growth, But just quickly declaring a state of emergency, yes, which is within your power, and suspending the president and the governor, an elected governor, duly elected by the people of Rivers State, and you suspended and of course suspended his deputy. That is, it shows that there's more to that where that comes from, and this shows that of course there's a support system to and not just that alone. Nigerians are wondering. Now, you can see the handwriting on the wall of Minister Wike there, and no condemnation. This is your direct appointee, which you can automatically give an order and say, you know what, stand down. at this point stand down and let peace reign in this. Nothing like that or such was done. You condemned what the governor did, keep condemning what he did, but forgetting that as of December, when the local government election was to be conducted, some seem to be a supporter of now the a supporter of Wiki went to burn 3 local government area and nothing was done. And up until now, no condemnation was meted out to them, and of course, those the person they support. But of course, like I said, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I know a lot of Nigerians who of course have known the antecedent of our president will say, I mean, a man who was and still a godfather of Lagos State, what would you expect? You can only but support a growing godfather so as to keep his legacy. I mean, I mean, you're just saying because you could see that they are still antecedent, you go against the power that be, they remove you, and you could see governors like that who have been done, I mean, in Lagos State. So the same thing they're trying to replicate in River State. So it's just sad that that's where we are as a nation.
It's so many questions in the minds of Nigerians at this moment. But looking at it, if the state must have a sole administrator, why the military? Is there no civilian that could broker peace in the state? Isn't the Nigerian military already overstretched fighting insecurity in the country to now be deployed in River State?
Well, I think I saw today on TV that a supporter of a Wiki, and of course the decision or declaration of the president said that he's an ex-military, an ex-naval officer, meaning that he's a retired, so it can be seen to be a civilian. And I asked the question: once a soldier is always a soldier.
Did
So
you see the
this
videos of military, would I say trucks, moving to the
trucks,
government
into the
house in
state, yes,
River
of course.
State?
Of
At
course,
some
we
point, the
also
reports were Governor Fubara nowhere to be found as military takes over the River State government house. People of Port Harcourt were scampering for their safety, running into their homes last night. Honestly, a lot of us who have friends and family there were also calling them and telling them, look, stay safe. Something is happening in that state at the moment. So if you say he's more or less a civilian, yes, and once a military person, always a military person, he has other military officers around him to actually help forestall the breakdown of law and order. Which is why I go back to the question, why a military administrator in a civilian administration?
this goes to show abuse of power. This is totally an abuse of power and a show of force to show that yes, in case you go against me, this is what I'm going to do. Well, yeah, he is the commander in chief of the armed forces, and of course he has, of course, the military are in total, in total loyalty to the democratic rules and of course power. But you could see that it's just a total abuse of power. That's what we find ourselves, and this is not democracy in a
Ambassador
society,
Terry,
and
sorry,
I
sorry
highly
to cut in
condemn it.
again. Sorry to cut in again. But also, have you seen the pictures making the round of this same person who has just been appointed as sole administrator of River State, shaking hands with Wike as far back as 2, 3, 4 years ago?
Of course,
So when you talk about this being a script,
Nigerians, this is Wike's game plan. This is plot. These are his people, his mechanism. These are his protege. These are his his tools. Of course, it can only but be him. We all know that he's the one who's behind all this. It's no longer new. You could see that he is trying to show to the governor and of course the River State that you can't, I dictate for you. I'm your godfather and I'll continue
so
to
a
be.
political ploy against 2027?
Basically, that's what it is. That is what it is. I was discussing with a friend over today, and I said it can only take that's the opposition needs to put their act together, or only by divine providence that anything new will happen. But of course, these people we have, they have all the plots they started, and they have all the mechanism with them, and of course they're ready to use the power to power to the fullest, and that is what you see playing out in River State.
When you
I
talk
mean,
about
in less
opposition,
than
is
how
it the
many minutes, how
PDP?
many hours declaration, military, of course, filled the street. I recall that the same people that when they did that protest, Occupy Nigeria, when the then President Jonathan, brought up the military to make law and order. To calm the situation. To say, now you find out that at that time they condemned it. They condemned it that why use military? What happened to the police? So the same thing you find them doing now. So it's so sad that I mean, these are people one would have thought that understood the tenets of democracy, and of course are going to uphold, I mean, respect the rule of law, and of course, I mean, practice full democratic system. But where we are right now, as a people, we see people using show of force, and of course, trying to. I mean, this is just total. This is just a pathway to have their way cleared up for 2027.
Yesterday, I don't know if you saw the report of PDP summoning an emergency meeting over weekend. This was after the presidential broadcast. And one would think this was actually due to the crisis in Rivers State, but it was because Wike had revoked the land right of the party's national secretariat over non-payment of dues. PDP governors are saying right now that they are standing with Governor Fubara. But where were they in the thick of this crisis when the pro-Wike lawmakers and Governor Fubara were having a showdown and a face-off? Where was the PDP? Atiku Abubakar, of course, he has rolled out statement. Other PDP governors have been doing the same. But have they really supported Governor Fubara up until now to be in power, to take charge of Rivers State before coming to talk now that the governor has been suspended?
I think PDP has been infiltrated. PDP is weakened and continue to go show that they are weak. They've not put out a very strong opposition so far, and PDP is divided. I mean, more than ever before. And thanks to the FCT minister, who has a very large share in the division, and of course have a lot of loyalists across party line. I mean, across the PDP, and of course he has a lot of loyalists who continue to make sure that PDP doesn't unite. So that's why you see that over time PDP have been neither here or there. Of course, they've been neutral, and they just only give on a very sad line, on a very cool, or what one would say, on a very soft note, just a side press briefing or condemnation without a weighty or a weighty stand for Governor Fubara. Governor Fubara has been left alone to fight this battle by himself. And one would say, yes, everybody's just trying to mind his own. But you can see that this is going to show that the power that be are very much in the PDP, and they are not ready to let it go. So PDP is coming out to condemn, and of course, I'm having why does it have to take them this long to suspend Wike, who have shown openly to practice who have shown to be practice an anti-party within the party? And this Minister Wike have shown to be that, yes, I am not for you, but I will leave your party. But nothing happened, and he has sworn, and he has dared them to suspend him. And up until now, they can't do anything. They can't suspend him. So this goes to show that he owns PDP. And whatever you see in PDP now coming out, the governors condemning, I mean, it's just crying over spilled milk. And for me, I think they can't do anything because they've not been seen to be a very strong opposition to the government of the day. You know, they've been bought over, and the party is divided, yet to conclude on. Even now we have two national secretary. You know, we have supposedly a chairman who dines and wine with the winning party. So this is a party that is getting weaker by the day, and of course is losing its grounds. I mean, imagine where a sitting senator had to decamp and nothing is done. So I mean, leaving the PDP, one would have thought that, okay, we remain in the PDP, of course, being that the major opposition party in the country. But even at that, you see that SDP is gaining more grounds. So PDP, as it stands now, PDP has appointed Nigeria. Nigeria doesn't even believe in them to even, give a very strong force on opposition to a strong force against the party of the day. But it's what it is. And of course, this is going to show that Wike is bigger than PDP. That's the truth.
Ambassador Tewe, you're saying Wike is bigger than the PDP. I want to still talk about, the overstretching of the military being deployed to a place where there is no war. Because going back to Section 305 of the Constitution that says the president will have the power to issue a proclamation of a state of emergency only when A, the federation is at war, B, the federation is in imminent danger of invasion or involvement in a state of war. I could go on and read the other reasons that could actually lead to a state of emergency. But then let's look at it. There are states where terrorists control a whole local government. They impose taxes on the residents and kill people at will. But the Nigerian government has not declared a state of emergency in any of those states? Is the situation in those places not a threat to national security enough to be declared a state of emergency, to deploy the military in all their power and terrorism, to ensure that we have a country where citizens do not fear to go to bed at night, where citizens will not be killed because, oh, you gave security agencies information about bandits and terrorists in the bush?
You see, what is the primary responsibility of government? To protect life and property. Over the years, our government, our government have been seen to fail us in that light. We see people die. The life of a Nigerian life is worth nothing. You understand? I mean, one would have thought that with the level of insecurity we have across board, across the country, the president would have declared a state of emergency and, of course, deploy all our security forces to make sure that they put a stop and a quench to the insecurity in the country. But no, but because this is of greater interest to them, this is where the oil is where the money
so
is.
it is all about the oil and the money coming from the oil.
Yes.
So
They
anything
don't
can
care
happen to
about you and
Rivers
I.
people. People could die. Militants could go on a kidnapping
Don't
spree.
care.
They could go on a killing rampage.
Affect
Anything.
them. It doesn't affect the purse. It doesn't affect the purse. What affects the purse is what they will go. You touch the oil, you touch them. So that is where the problem is. That is where you see that they acted fast. I mean, for going to 20 years, now we've had states of insecurity in the country. No government have been able to put an end to it. We just keep hearing that they quench this, they kill this, they did that, but keep happening. We see kidnapping, we see banditry, we see people paying for ransom, we see people being kidnapped at will at night in their houses, and nothing is happening across the board. But no state of emergency has been declared. Nothing is working. Our military are dying. Of course, most of them are underpaid. The majority of them are underpaid and all that, and yet we have the strength, we have the temerity to declare state of emergency in a state that is not at war, a state that you could see that it's all political interest that is playing, and all we could do is to use the military, which of course, as you said, have been overstretched and still stretching, to go there and put to all in the name of creating to create peace and stability in a state that is not at war. So it goes to tell you that, of course, it's about interest, it's about the pocket, not about the Nigerian people. So it's any Nigerian that thinks that these people care about you should think twice, because these people do not care about us.
Ambassador Tewe, final question before we go. All of the Nigerian institutions, a lot of political analysts like yourself believe that they have been balkanized and bastardized, right? You have, Wike has been accused of being the golden boy of the judiciary and having the judiciary in his pocket and being able to actually sway judges to give judgments that would favor him or favor his own allies. Also, we have the legislature with Akpabio, of course, as president of the Senate, loyal to the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the executive. What institutions can the average Nigerian fall back to if all are in the pockets of the executive?
Trust me, the only institution is God institution, not the church, not the Nigerian church, not the Nigerian pastor, because those have been bought. The only thing is the people. The Nigerian people. We must come out, we must embrace ourselves, we must come back to understand that this is our country. Most of those people have dual citizenship. We don't have any other country to go back to. If anything happened here, if the country burns, most of us will become refugee in other countries. So we must stand up and say enough is enough. These people are supposed to serve us, not the other way around. We must hold them accountable. Nigerians must come out and begin to defend and hold these people accountable, defend our rights, and let them know that we are not cowards. We cannot be fooled. Enough of press statements, enough of coming on TV and lament, on radio and lament. Yes, which of course the media is playing a very strong role in this course, but of course Nigerians have to come out. I mean, I saw a lady who said is going to 30 days rant and come out. This is what we need to do, and make them understand that, listen, you can't just you are not the law, even though you are meant to protect the law. You are meant to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, not the other way around. You can't continue to abuse our collective intellect, all in the name of, I mean, we don't have a system that favors, that is being run as a monarchy system, as an emperor. When the emperor speaks, everybody just keep quiet, everybody follows suit. Nobody can speak, everybody just feel like it's like a zombie. Everybody just follows suit. It has never been this bad. We have a system that is controlled by one man. He speaks, everybody follows suit. We have the judiciary that's supposed to be the last hope for the common man has been bought over by one man who decides and tells you, no matter where you go, you'll find me there. This one now they play it to you. Before now, it has to. It used to be a secret thing that they come together and you wouldn't even know. You just be a guest. But this one, they come out publicly to tell you that listen, we run it, and they will make it happen. And this is what they do. So
and you can be protesting while we'll be eating and drinking.
Injustice, you can't. When you complain, they come after you. Look at that lady I mean came out to vent her anger, her frustration in the way things are high and all. And imagine the government agency that's supposed to even protect and even appeal to her to make her understand that it's just what it is, and maybe in no time things will change. That is if it would ever change. But now they're threatening her. So that's the country we find ourselves. That's the system we're building.
Ambassador Tewe, we need to go. Our time is fast spent. I must thank you so much for joining me on the World News at 12. It's always a pleasure whenever we get to have these conversations. Do have an amazing day. Thank you so much. You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, we'll take a look at the top stories again. You heard that soldiers and tanks have moved into the Rivers State Government House as opposition condemns emergency rule. Reps review President Tinubu consulted National Assembly before declaring emergency in Rivers State. PDP summons emergency meeting over weekend. Russia and Ukraine carry out attacks after Putin-Trump call. That is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. For coverage of your live event and brand news mentions on our news bulletins, do send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.